Hospitality, serving the stranger. Between Utopia and Dystopia, a collection of telltales from Val's Sanctuary of Creativity. I was barely a teen when I answered an ad for a seasonal job in the monthly paper. Babysitting on the Sisa Alpen, a Dolomite plateau and the largest high-altitude alpine meadow in Europe, located in Italy's southern South Tyrol province. A world away from home, both in distance and lifestyle, but located within our region. A very tall and stately lady arrived at our home for an interview. She was dressed elegantly in a coat dress with buttons running down from the collar to the knees. It was her signature dress code, Monday through Sunday, from July to September. She owned many of these outfits, as I would later discover. There was a discussion about me being too small or too young. In the end, I was able to convince both her and my parents that I would be able to handle the job. I was hired to work at a small family-owned and operated hotel. My job description ended up being a playmate for the owner's daughter. She was younger, but about my size in physique. Her father would leave for days in search of dicer balls or amethyst nuggets. He would cut them open in front of us and other spectators. The most beautiful purple crystals lay hidden within a plain-looking rock. They were showcased in a special room for guests to admire. Ulrike and I would hang out in the kitchen or the lobby. On certain days, we had to stay out of the way. Every day felt like a holiday, with friendly people coming and going, greeting us, bringing us sweets and gifts. Sometimes they would take us on hikes from one alpine cabin to the other. Other times for walks through fields of flowers that I had never seen before. I spent my first seasonal job loving all that I was learning and experiencing. I was paid on the day my parents came to pick me up. It seemed like so much money. I felt as if I could buy the world. I bought myself a tape recorder, a red bell-bottom pantsuit, and a pair of 2-inch red and black platform shoes. In the years to come, I worked the summer season here and there. Opportunities never lacked. Tourism was flourishing in our region and throughout the land. The seasonal jobs would take me farther and farther away from home. It didn't matter, because I took home with me wherever I went. I was certain that the family, friends, and the environment I had left behind would always be there, and that I would always return home. In this one valley called Pustertal in German and Val Pusteria in Italian, I experienced 3 languages, Italian, German, and Latin, a Romance language of the Retro-Romance subgroup. In Milan, I helped out in a restaurant that sold towers of profiteroles or chocolate-covered cream puffs, at times taller than myself. On the Adriatic shore, I served homemade ice cream and beer to German and Scandinavian tourists. Sadly, a man died in my arms of heart failure. The cold beer and the hot sun may have been too much for him. In Sicily, I remained beyond the season as I matured into a woman. The hospitality industry grew on me like a second skin. The seasons would always start out slow, and as I got to know my co-workers, learn designated tasks, responsibilities, and the overall flow of the operation. Co-workers became friends and we socialized during our spare time. Guests departed and more guests arrived. Our spare time became shorter and shorter as the season progressed. During the height of the season, we mostly worked and slept. The lines of responsibilities blurred as the houses filled up. Then burnout set in as the season came to an end, and I returned home to my other life, always with a nice amount of cash. By the time I was an adult, I was quite experienced in the hospitality business. This occurred without conscious effort, from one season to the next. I gained experience in offering a home away from home to strangers. I expanded my knowledge and learned not only how to run the front of the house, but many of the behind-the-scenes tasks as well. Some years passed and I had forgotten about my seasonal work. I was living in America, married, and driving a school bus through the 5 boroughs of New York City. When I was ready to apply for college courses, I needed a job with a flexible schedule and a good income. One day, I decided to walk into the iconic Grand Central Oyster Bar, which was the largest seafood house on the East Coast, the Pearl of Grand Central Station since 1913. I asked for a position and I got the job. I think because I had exchanged a few words in German with the Swiss pastry chef at the dessert vitrine. My co-workers were mainly actors. Only a few were career waiters. The lunch shift ran from 11 a.m. until 3 p.m. The chef would guide us through the daily menu and the oyster availability. Nobelon, Beautiful Blue Point, Bush de Bristol. The menu was printed on oversized paper with blue ink. Meals were adjusted and printed daily. Sometimes we had a wine tasting with French bread and cheese before service, in order to familiarize ourselves with the wine in case we were asked. We had a sommelier for everything to do with wine. On Fridays, we ate tongue and creamed spinach. It was all very organized, and corporate systems were in place for operations and the staff. Precisely at noon, the large front doors were opened, and hundreds of people, or what seemed like a colony of ants, hurried around to seat themselves at the red and white checkered clothed tables and around the winding plain counters. At the door there was always a line of people. As the service began, everything fell into flow quickly. Work was fast-paced but orderly. We had 3 turnovers. Almost every day famous people could be spotted. When a co-worker went on a date with Warren Beatty, we cautioned her. At times I worked an evening shift in the salon dining room from 6 p.m. until 10 p.m. It was a calmer and more intimate setting within the oyster bar. Among others, Lucille Ball dined with her son Devia Nass Jr. in the salon. I collected many autographed menus from people who fine-dined with us and drank expensive wine. Then priorities shifted and I needed to work closer to home. I went to work at John's Seafood, an upstart that had received rave reviews from local food critics. The restaurant was an owner-chef establishment. Crazy John, not named by me, cooked divinely, maybe due to his Greek mother's culinary secrets. But the restaurant had no system in place. On opening day, politicians walked out to their waiting limos with plates of baked clams in hand. John was pleased and thought himself a genius. The place didn't last. A few other restaurants followed. By then, I had leaned towards Italian cuisine. Soon, life circumstances changed again, and for many years, I frequented restaurants only as a guest. On the onset of the new millennium, I settled into the Five Towns on Long Island. I wanted to do what I loved, being creative, living as an artist. The hospitality business again provided me with opportunities. I offered my service to many establishments in the neighborhood. Wearing a white dress shirt, hand-painted tie, black pants, either a long or short apron, sometimes a vest, and always good shoes. I enjoyed serving food. There is something intimate about it. I learned about people's food preferences, their eating habits and behaviors around nourishment. I had regulars, and people liked my accent. I learned about people's diets, their apprehensions and fears around food, but also their joys. I got to observe behaviors. Food can bring the best and the worst out of people. I saw good and bad manners. There were odd attitudes and situations. At times I'd get triggered, like when the diner sent a turkey burger back 3 times. It's not done well enough. I wanted it with cheese. Now it took too long. I don't want it anymore. And me? Do you mean to tell me that this turkey had to die for nothing? Needless to say, my reaction caused a stir, as the customer is always right. Feeling sandwiched like a triple-decker between the guests, the kitchen, and the owners was a juggling act at times. In most kitchens, I formed a special relationship with the chefs. I admired their skills and know-how. I would tell them that I could sense if a dish was prepared with attention, care, and love. They believed me. I tasted many a delicacy. However, when things go wrong in the kitchen or when overwhelm sets in, stress levels can escalate quickly, turning harmony and flow into fear and anger in seconds. The discordance can be felt throughout the place, like electricity, and kitchens can become dangerous. Coming home exhausted from working a party and falling into bed beyond tired, but feeling satisfied. Being in the midst of it all, but still an outsider. An active observer, at times invisible, serving the stranger and taking it all in. Well-visited eateries usually have a vibrant, flirtatious, and sexually charged atmosphere. I overheard conversations that I shouldn't have. I got to know people's habits and hear their stories. Some got to hear mine. I was able to schedule myself to work a few hours and earn enough money for rent and basic living expenses. There were other perks. I ate good food with plenty of choices. I didn't have to cook much. Like a dark cloud, a poverty mindset entered the restaurant business after the financial crisis of 2008. Less people came out to eat, tips declined, and kitchens grew stingy with their employees. The day I was deprived nourishment in an establishment, I knew that my waiting on tables had come to an end. Today I still serve food, but to a smaller crowd. My family. I would love a chef. It is said that working in waitstaff is among the most stressful jobs one can have. I can relate to that, if you are locked into it or if you can't deal with the stress. Serving is not for everyone.